Hello and welcome. Today we're back in my wife's minivan. It's a Chrysler 2015 Chrysler Town Country. The issue is, you see I've got a DVD playing. The VES system does not seem to work. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you see the Uconnect symbol comes up. That's good. It means the screen is not damaged, but nothing's playing. And I don't understand why. But I did a little research and I believe it's this cable. So if you look right there, you see there's a cable right there. From what I can understand reading, it looks like every time you open and close this, that cable will either become dislodged or get damaged. Let's see if I can, where is it? I just had it, there it is, right there. So that cable will either become dislodged or damaged, which to me is a design flaw. So the only solution that I found is you have to replace this cable. So that's what we're going to try to do today. So you've got this long piece, and from what I can understand, this whole thing has to come out to remove this DVD player. So let's begin. All right, first thing you want to do is kill power. You don't want to have active power while you're working on this. So take the keys out and the car will shut down eventually. Now I've got a flathead screwdriver and we're going to have to remove this. So be careful because there are clips in here. So I got the first clip loose. And now I should just be able to pull. Okay, so there we go. Now that part is clear, and you just need to unclip this. So to unclip this, you just push in, and there you go. Now that's our first obstacle. So that piece can just be set to the side. Now, you need to do the same way back there. There's another one just, well, similar to it. So we need to go way back here in the back and do the same thing. So we're gonna pry right in here to disconnect the connectors that are holding this to the car. Okay, you see those two connectors? There should be two connectors just like that on the other side. And there we go. Now there's just a couple of connectors for the lights. We're gonna have to disconnect those. All right, so now that we got that unplugged, now we're gonna move back to the front two connectors. Back here, you see this tab, you push that down and then just wiggle it loose. And here's a close-up of the tab. It just pushes down and that's what locks it in. Then here, there's this tab right here, push that in. This comes loose. Like that, okay? Now, we're going to have to remove that Phillips head screw right there. And then you've got a bolt on this side. All right, so Phillips head screw. If I can, there we go. It's a bit tight, that's good. So there's the screw out. Okay, I finally got that bolt out. It's a 10mm head. I don't have a 10mm socket, so I had to use a crescent wrench to get it. You saw the way I did it. It's very janky, but it did work. Okay, now we have to move all the way to the back because there's a couple of more bolts that have to come out. So let's go back there and see. Okay, so we're back here in the back again. And you've got another, looks like probably another 10mm, thanks a lot. And Phillips head screw, but they're on opposite sides. So the Phillips head screw is on the left, whereas the 10mm bolt was on the left. And the 10mm bolt is on the right, whereas in the front, it was on the left. The Phillips head was on this side, so they're opposites. So remember that when you're going to put this back together. So let's remove these. So there we go, and I'm just going to put this over here in the back so I know which side it came off of and where it goes. And now to get this one out. I would highly suggest you go out and buy a 10mm socket if you don't have one like I don't, because this is really not fun. But I guess in a pinch it does work, because it works. There. Okay. Now put it over here on the right side so I know where it came from. Now we need to remove this whole assembly. Let's see. Yep, right in there. So you see that? You want to get that, pop that down. That's on my van. It's right here in front of these lights. Here's the screen, the controls, and the lights, and it's right here in this area. Okay, so on my van, there it is. It's right here at the third DVD holder. I don't know if yours is different, but that's where it is. So pry that down. So here's another one. Just again, use my wrench. It's a 10mm. Get it in between there, in between the metal and the plastic, and just kind of gently pry down. Don't want to break anything or damage anything. And give yourself enough clearance. Okay, good. Now let's get the whole thing down. Okay, so I got it down. But there was this wire right here was, or this plug rather, was plugged into here. So it just very simply unconnected. There was no snap connector or anything. But just beware that but that's still attached to that. That's the last cord, but you can't unplug it until you take it completely down. So now it's completely down, and this is heavy, by the way. It's a lot heavier than I was expecting. So now we need to, this is the DVD screen that we need to work on. So now we're gonna take it, and you can move it in the house or wherever you want to. You don't have to work in the van anymore. All right, so now we're inside. We've got the whole assembly out of the van, and we have more room to work. So the first thing you want to do is disconnect these two wires, and it's just there's a little push tab on each of them. Comes out very simply. There. Okay. Wasn't exactly simple, but it did come out. So now that we have those two plugs unplugged, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 Torx T20 bit screws that need to come out. Okay. All right, now that we got those 4 Torx bits out, you see it's right here, there's little not connectors, but just guide pins. So we need to take the whole screen out and just make sure you accommodate for those guide pins right there. You don't want to break them, they're plastic. The screen will just come right out and you can move it somewhere else so you don't have to work with this whole assembly. Okay, now that we have the screen separated from the rest of the assembly, we're going to turn it over and open it. 7mm bolt, 7mm bolt, Phillips head screw, Phillips head screw. If those are loose, the plate will come right off the bottom. And you want to get those out of there so they don't damage your screen. And set them somewhere safe. Close your screen and then flip it back over. Okay, so now we're going to have to remove these 2 screws, these 2 screws, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and there's a third one under here, tricky. And these 2 screws, and they're all Phillips head screws. All right, so notice the difference. These are the 4 that came out of the sides, 2 on each side. These are the 6 that came from the bottom, and these are the 2 that came from the front. So it doesn't look like you can mix them up as long as you keep them, you know, in groups. You can see the difference. And then of course, these 2 are the easiest one to recognize. All right, so now that we have the screws out, we're going to turn it. And those 2 little bumps right there go into these holes. And then you can also do that. Go around to the other side, make sure you keep that up. And you're gonna do the same thing on this side. And now it's open. Just gonna remove this cable. Now on mine, it appears to be just one of these pull-up tabs. Just get your fingernail under there, and that's it. Now the cable's removed. Now we gotta get it from the other end. We're gonna take a screwdriver, and right here in the screen, you're going to just kind of twist. And then here's the cable on this side. Looks like another same type of connector. Just lifts up. And pull the cable out. Okay. Maybe this could be the problem where it's pinched. Anyways, but now we just need to get the new cable and install it. But yeah, that definitely might be the problem. Yep, it's separated. But it's definitely separated right there. Oh, and right there too. So that's probably the problem. Definitely. And ta-da! Here's a new one. I actually ordered this a long time ago, and I'm just now getting to it because it's been Christmas around here. So this was shipped. I'll leave the eBay seller in the description. They sent a very nice paper that said, you know, how to do this, and it's a very good person. So they said that you have to have the number 68 on the board. You can see 68 printed. Okay, so now we're going to install the new cable. Also, this cable was supposed to be about 2 centimeters longer, which is not a lot, but you can see is definitely longer. So this should help with the opening and closing. It should give it a little more slack, is what I'm thinking. So anyways, like I said, there'll be a description in the for the eBay seller in the description down below. All right, so let's take this out and install. All right, so to reinstall this, I'm just going to put it back in the way it came out. So both ends are the same, but the writing was up, so I'm just going to reinstall it through this little slit right here. Now it said, now you need to push it flat. Make sure you see how it's got some wobble on it. You don't want any wobble. You don't want to close it when it's like this or like this. You want to make sure it's perfectly even, and then just flip this little black connector down. That's it. With this black cable done on this side. So just line up the screen, the backing with the screen. Flip this up. Plug this cable in there. Or really just sits in there, doesn't really plug. Just make sure it's in there nice and even and flat. And just flip that down. Okay, now the cable has been replaced. What's next? Now you got to put it all back together. So here we go. Now here's one thing I noticed on this. You want to make sure that these little metal tabs are in this plastic bit so that they seat right. Now unfortunately you cannot test this. You just have to put it back together and pray that it works. Now we're going to put the screws back in, put it back in the assembly, put the assembly back in the van, and pray that it works. All right, so I put the 6 screws back in, the 2 here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so to put this plate on, you want these to be in the front, and it's gonna go with these clips right here. So you just place that down. Now we're gonna flip it over. Make sure you hold it so the plate doesn't fall. Open it. And remember that the 7mm bolts go in the back, and the 2 Phillips head screws go in the front. Okay, and we're going to close the screen gently. Okay, now this is reattached. That's not seated. There we go. 4 Torx T20s. Now I just need to plug this in and this in. All right, now it's ready to be taken to the van and reinstalled. Okay, now that everything's plugged in, let's turn the car on, turn the movie on, and see if it works. There. Good. That means I didn't damage it. Yay! It worked. All right, so now all you have to do is put the screw and the bolt in here, put those 2 panels back on, remember to plug them in, and you're good to go. Now your kids will be happy again. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I appreciate it. Thank you.